Yeah. Yes. Nicholas.
Hmm.
I finally got to use the bloody snowblower today.
Oh, did you?
I did. And I want props. I was
Oh,
about to swear there.
good
And
job.
I did. I did. I did. I'm keeping it
Well,
clean. I am keeping it clean for the most part because in the intro, I don't want people to tune us out immediately. I want them to hang on a little bit, at least make it past the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Universe proudly present to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He's the friendly fry guy, Nick Friar. I'm your friendly neighborhood backcracker, Dr. Joe. And together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. I just realized something, Nicholas. I've had a few flubs on the intro lately. And mostly that's because I'm trying to introduce, give you a flashy nickname on the fly.
sure.
Um, and that it usually screws me up. Friendly Nick Friar kind of flowed. I
Yeah.
know it does. That's not a real thing, but it just felt right,
Are you saying I'm not friendly?
and it
What the fuck?
worked.
What?
How you
It's
doing,
unbelievable.
Nicholas?
That was perfect. That was one. That was honestly an all-time intro out of you. Forget that. I don't care if you've been flubbing lately or not. That was flawless. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I'm
Thank
doing
you.
great. Aside from this friggin' snow, I'm happy for you that you are excited to use your snowblower. I had to drive into Boston from, it's only Nashua, but still, like, not fun today at all. But what is fun is talking about the books that we're going to talk about this week, because we got some real heavy hitters. And before we do that, though, Joe, I want to remind the people that if you're catching us over on Twitter, on Doc's Twitch stream, on our YouTube page, make sure you go subscribe to one of our audio channels as well. That's Apple, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, SoundCloud, Amazon, Pocket Cast, all the major podcasting platforms. And if you find us while you're scrolling through, X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, and then you're like, hey, you're not on the podcasting platform, just DM us. We'll make sure we're over there, but we're on the major ones. And the reason why I'm saying that, especially for this week, is because that's the only place you can find our Friar Side chats. What are those? Our conversations with creators across the industry. And we actually have two that are relevant this week. Before you give me your thoughts on those, Joe, I just want to remind people too, if you like us in any capacity, please leave a 5-star rating and review on any of those audio channels. Or if it's, if they have a higher rating and review scale, please, give us the highest rating you can. 5 stars or better only. Otherwise, you're going to learn the real meaning of backcracker. But yeah, Joe, we have a Kill Your Darlings interview that dropped this week that people can listen to. The 5th issue of that is out. And then we've had the John Constantine interview with Cy Spurrier for Hellblazer and Dead in America that's been out for a little bit too. But I mean, what could you ask for? Like, what more could you ask for going into New Comic Book Day? You have something to driving in and driving back.
Yeah, both those chats were a lot of fun. Learned a ton of stuff. One of the things I mostly learned was that the first time that you were on with the Kill Your Darlings crew, you needed me, right? Because the second chat was elevated significantly. I brought out heart, right? I brought out heart. We shared some emotions. I may have grossed our guests out with a story back from my chiropractic school days during gross anatomy class. But both were a lot of fun. Both have books coming out this week. So if you're new to John Constantine, if you're new to Kill Your Darlings and you want to listen to that and get caught up before the second act starts, which is this week, I highly recommend doing so. Both those chats were a lot of fun. Loved having all of those guys on. It was a blast. And despite you do interviews, it's 3 years plus now. Getting my feet wet a bit. I got to say, I student might be surpassing the teacher here.
You're a fool if you don't think that I need you. So you can insult me all you want. I feel that way. So that's totally fine. We do a great job.
Clip it.
Yeah, by all means. I have no problem saying that. We do it. We're a perfect mix the way we go about our questions, and it works out very well. And it's in proof of that too is that sometimes we take just a quick peek behind the curtain. Sometimes we have our questions that we write up and we share together, but before the show and or the interview and we work off of. And there are a lot of times where just the way the conversation goes, or one of us may take over or whatever, where you end up asking questions that I write, or I end up asking questions that you wrote. And it's funny how often I feel like those instances we get like, oh, that's a really good question. That's a great question. And I know people can say that kind of shit, but we don't get that like with every friggin' question that we ask. And to me, I feel like I've noticed a pattern that when I ask your questions, I get those compliments and vice versa. And it's just kind of funny how that seems to happen.
Yeah,
So
we're getting there, Nicholas.
yes,
We're
fair.
making
I know
we're
it's too
making our
nice,
way.
too much nice talk for
I
you to
know
start the show.
it's making me squeamish,
But the Kill Your
squirmy.
Darlings conversation was hysterical, and there was seriously, it was fun, and there was also a lot of heart to it. I had a great time talking with the guys, and then the Constantine conversation. I love talking to Cy. I'll talk more about his return to the character in a moment, but I very much encourage, if you haven't listened to either of those conversations, check them both out over the course of this week.
Yes, and far less slander this week during this chat with the Kill Your Darlings crew.
Yes.
I was not referred to as a
Um,
deadbeat.
Yeah. By the way, you say that you grossed them out, but you may have inspired Bob Quinn, because I think you did it was very descriptive, and he's definitely trying to get a little more vicious with his art, which is kind of
We'll
terrifying.
see. We'll see if there's fleshy bits flying into a character's beard. Then we know where you got the idea from.
Exactly. All right, let's get to catching up before we get into the new releases. And we're just doing what's new this week. That doesn't that could mean that there's possibly more coming. It's not just I'll tell you this. The what's new that we did last week coincided with the Kill Your Darlings interview. So we may or may not get some more stuff. Anyways, catching up this week, Joe, I read Transformers issue 4. I mean, it's just Daniel Warren Johnson is absolutely killing it. Can't say it enough, right?
I meant to fucking read that.
Oh, dude,
Shit.
it's so good. It just
Yeah.
there's a part with the Decepticons in particular that's just like, oh fuck, man! Like this is the level at which this story could operate, and I absolutely loved it. I also read Duke issue 1, which is
It's another one.
Joshua Williamson. That was good. I wasn't sure going in because I read the GI Joe's first issue, and I was like, okay, it's fine. Like it didn't do much for me. But Duke, I was like, oh, this is good, and like I almost went into it like thinking I wasn't gonna like it because of GI Joe. So I feel like it's even better than I'm giving it credit for. So I'll be checking out Duke issue 2. I got to make sure that I track that down. I don't know if it's out yet or not. But the big one, which is something we both read since we've last convened, is Zorro, Man of the Dead, which is from Whatnot's imprint, massive publishing. This is by Sean Murphy. And Joe, I was pleasantly surprised by this. This was friggin' awesome.
Yeah, you shouldn't have been pleasantly surprised. You should have been expecting something kick-ass. I think this book like dropped on Kickstarter a while ago, because I remember getting an alert, right? Sean Murphy did this first on Kickstarter, and I meant to back it, and I don't know why. I think I got a little it was either I knew it was going to be coming out in print at some point, and or like Kickstarter, like I don't know, like I'm getting to a point like I love backing stuff, but I also hate like waiting a year,
It's tough, yeah.
before I get it. It's tough, and that's just a me thing. But I remember being very excited for this, and I don't know what cover you got. I think I got the Lee Bermejo
Oh, that was a
cover
nice one. I saw that. That was really nice.
it was almost, it was Ghost Rider esque on the motorcycle. But I knew, like, I'm not this huge Zorro guy, right? But familiar with the character, and knowing Sean Murphy, his style, his writing, his art, like I was like, my bar for this was pretty high, and it met it. It was, I didn't know where the direction he was going to go with it, because I didn't read the synopsis going in, and I loved that it's a modern take on the character, because I was expecting at first maybe, okay, it's just going to be kind of an old school Spanish Western kind of story, like a typical like Zorro kind of story. But I like how he modernized it and sort of brought it to the present day and how it could be relevant. And that he absolutely knocked it out of the park. I can't effing wait for the next issue.
I am a big Sean Murphy fan. I've talked about at least 2 of his books on here. No, 3, because I did Batman White Knight. I did the Plot Holes, and then Punk Rock Jesus. I maybe there was another one, but I'm sorry. And he was the artist on John Constantine City of Demons too.
And
so
he was the artist on on another book that you talked about.
The Scott Snyder, The Wake. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the artist on that as well. So yeah, I'm a big Sean Murphy fan. But like you said, I'm like, I don't know I don't know what the story is here to tell with Zorro. Like, is it like, hey, we haven't had Zorro. I don't know if Zorro's ever been in comics before. It's just like we've never seen him in comics before. We can go and tell some like stories related to, news stories, but related to what he's done in the past. And I was like, oh, okay, like I'm not a huge Zorro guy. I know the book's going to look really cool. But I was like, I don't know. Like he just never didn't like Zorro. Just didn't do a whole lot for me. And then I read this and it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Shame on me. Honestly, shame on me. It was so damn good. Yeah, for real. You tried to call dibs on it. I'd already read it. That's
Well,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so I gotta tell you, this was done because I love the first issue so much. I didn't want you to fucking steal it from me. So I just, as soon as you asked me in text, did you read Zorro? I just went dibs before you had a chance, just in case.
Yeah, just so everybody knows the difference between the two of us here. Joe does that, and I was texting him to encourage him. If you haven't read it already, and you have to read it, it's so good. So that's the difference. That's what we're dealing with here.
Well,
But yeah,
I wanted to make sure that I could continue to read it because I was afraid that's where you might be coming from. So
it's so good. It really
yeah,
is. I don't blame you for for at least being a little nervous because I like if you had passed on it, I mean, this would be like I would have
wow.
been. This would be a TLDR worthy book, at least at the start.
If I had passed on this book, I would have needed you to drive to my house and kick my ass.
Okay. Well, I'll remember that for the future if anything similar happens. But let's move forward to what we got coming out this week, Joe. What is dropping from Marvel on New Comic Book Day?
All right, so this is just a weird week for New Comic Book Day in general. I think we sort of mentioned it in the solicit, but things change, right? So copying pasting this week from when we did our solicit, and then sort of double checking it to seeing
Hmm.
how there was a lot of books that are not coming out this week that were originally listed for this week, but not the case for Marvel. You can four things in life you can set your watch to: death, taxes, something, and then Marvel having 1,000 books coming out this week.
That's great. I love that saying. That's a great one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That taxes and something else. Yeah.
Yeah. Something I could.
Joe calling dibs.
Yeah, you're right. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 42. So we did not because of MLK Day, this week we haven't had a chance to get the Marvel books yet. So some of these I really wanted to fucking read. We haven't gotten a chance to. One of them being X-Men issue 30, Final I was gonna say Final Fantasy 4, Fantastic Four issue 16. Jesus, I started off high, just downhill real fast.
Yeah.
Daredevil issue 5, The Invincible Iron Man issue 14, Guardians of the Galaxy issue 10, Star Wars Bounty Hunters issue 42. I'm just start referring to issue 42 as the Jackie Robinson issue.
Nice.
Black Panther issue 8, Miracle Man by Gaiman and Buckingham, The Silver Age issue 7, Star Wars The High Republic issue 3, Alien issue 3, White Widow issue 3, Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 issue 3. Creeper, Jesus, with the number 3s this week. Cap Wolf and the Howling Commandos issue 4, Obi-Wan issue 4, Jackpot issue 1, Cable issue 1, which I know you were interested in, and the book I was looking forward to this week, and I can't wait to read as soon as we can download it. And I will be buying some. Hopefully Newbury Comics will have the Frank Miller variant for this, but Avengers Twilight issue 1, written by, of course, my Chip Zdarsky. So that one I am very much dying to read.
Yeah, definitely quite a few good titles coming out from Marvel this week. And the same can actually be said over at DC as well. So we got Nightwing issue what?
So finish Nightwing, right? Issue 110.
Yep. Oh boy.
So you know how I love my Nightwing, and this issue is fine. This is a great issue. The fucking Beast World.
Oh no.
God fucking damn it. God damn it. Like great issue. I love what we got from Damian. I love Mr. Mittens. He was great, right? But like, I didn't need the fucking tie-in to a fucking event I'm not reading.
I think if there's one thing you dislike more than anything when it comes to the world of comics, it's got to be tie-ins for you. I'm not far off.
Like if you want to have like just this is my thing with the fucking with the goddamn events. Just do what fucking DC did when Future State. They just shut everything else down. They did nothing but Future State. I'm not saying shut all of DC down and just right, but like
Yeah,
if you're doing this whole Beast World thing, just make it its own fucking like mainline and have all the stories you want to tell. Like we're doing this Beast World event. Everything Beast World is in these books. Every other title, leave the fuck alone. I'm
yeah.
yelling and screaming. This is where Billy would put the old man yells at cloud picture on. I've heard it
Well,
both ways.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, like it's a thing that I feel like we haven't talked about a ton when we've had creators on because we're usually talking to them about their indie titles. But like I think when we had Chip on, I think the first time we talked to him about like some of the tie-in stuff. I think it was for maybe it was Stegman
It
that was
wasn't the first time. It was the last time we had him on because we were talking about Daredevil, and the
Mm.
Daredevil being thrown like. Well, I can't remember what. Anyways, but he's like, yeah,
I'll tell you what.
like
You know
I
what?
understand where he's coming from,
Mhm.
right? Like you're helping. You're like, okay, I'm going to help you out. You're writing, this event. You want me to tie it in? Yeah, boom, right. But
But it's
like
also
just
it can be good sometimes for the creators because it's a way to like sneak them in for people who maybe weren't reading their characters before. But it's just I hear what you're saying. Like you also don't care for this event either, so that doesn't help the
no,
situation.
right? So like it's an event I'm not reading, an event I'm not invested in,
Hmm.
and like what did this? It was wonderfully written. Like Tom Taylor is just killing it with Nightwing, right? It's this my issue isn't with the writing, my issue isn't with the art, and the story that they told was great, but like we just had this kick-ass, awesome arc end with Nightwing,
Mm.
right? And so what is it? It's just like a filler issue,
Yeah,
right? Like
you lose
just
the momentum. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah,
right.
the fierce I know the fierce day one was the big one for you too. Not to bring up old feelings, but yes, it's
Well, yeah, there was good and bad with Fear State. We're not going to rehash, but like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
if you like, you've got all these books, Beast World book, just like, okay, we're doing this event, Beast World, boom, like you see this with all of them. You see this with X Men. You see this with Star Wars. Like, here are all the books that are like, in this event, right? It's like I gotta keep a fucking Excel sheet to keep all this shit straight. No, like boom, we're doing a Beast World event. Here are all the books. Just make it like a mainline issue.
Mm,
Okay. Everything you need to be told is bang with it. And if you want to do ancillary Beast World one shots, then do it, but have it all contained, not just like, oh, we're doing this Beast World mainline, and then we got all these tie-ins here, and then we're gonna bring this fucking random Nightwing issue in. Oh, for fuck's sake. Like, come on. Like, at the very least, give Tom Taylor a month off, right? And don't he doesn't have to put out a Nightwing book this month, right? Give him a month off, and you do your fucking tie-in shit. Like,
feel better?
yes, I do actually.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that. That's what this show is all about. We talked. I think it was a while back. We talked when we had a. Might have been. It's been a while, but the last time we had Sean Lewis on, I think we talked about rebranding the show as like
Yeah,
comic book therapy or something
yeah.
like that. But anyways, moving on. So yes, Nightwing issue 110. I will say, see the cover with like that's the meme with like it's Nightwing and then Damien's like that cat. It's like the women at the restaurant and like the cat's like scowling.
Mr.
I'm
Mittens was great.
yeah,
My problem
funny.
isn't with the issue. I enjoyed the issue. I read it and was okay, but like I'm just thrown into this fucking Beast World event that I
I'm
haven't been reading. That's been going on for like 3 months.
Yes. Yes. You feel you got any more to get off? I was just commenting on the cover. That's all. Are you,
Yeah,
you
I'm
sure?
good now.
All right. So Nightwing 110, Batman, Superman, World's Finest
Ah,
issue
I
24.
don't like Superman. Superman doesn't sound.
You're
I
okay.
know, I
Okay.
know, I know.
All
It was
right.
my idea. Doesn't sound right.
Okay.
Doesn't sound right.
Superman
Thank you.
issue 110, which by the way, I love the cowboy hat with Superman. I think
It was a very Western week.
hmm,
With Superman taking place in the past and in the West, and then we'll get the Enfield gang
mhm.
later on but this was a solid issue for Superman.
Titans issue 7, Wonder Woman issue 5, Catwoman 61, Superman Lost issue 10, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong issue 4, Green Lantern War Journal issue 5, Jay Garrick The Flash issue 4, and then Joe, finally we can talk about this a little more. John Constantine Hellblazer Dead in America issue 1. And as everybody knows, I loved Cy Spurrier's run, and Aaron Campbell was the primary artist on that series when he was writing. I think it was 2020 and 2021. The pandemic didn't help that book, but then the book has, as we talked to Cy, we kind of find out it's been selling well in a collected edition, which is great to hear. Makes it easy to bring this book back. And then chatting with Cy, I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit, but it was a lot of fun to get inside the head of a Constantine writer. And we've talked to Cy before and enjoyed that conversation as well. But it's just kind of learning about how he views the character, how he handles the character. And you know that if there's one thing that I talk about when it comes to the writing in comics that I can be very critical of, it's narration. I can be picky about that. There are plenty of times where we don't need this. Like it's dragging along too much. It's slowing things down. And not that every book needs to move at a brisk pace, because Constantine does not. But there are times where it's like it slows it down and it doesn't need to do that. But why I don't care how much narration Cy has when it comes to Constantine is Cy Spurrier's ability to get in the head of John Constantine is remarkable. I don't know if that's something that you want to be able to do, but it is remarkable.
Well, I think that's it, right? Is that the narration is coming from a character that is unique. It is not just this, like, narration can just be words, right? I mean, it's all just words, but like you're just reading it and moving along. Like when we get narration from a character like Constantine, I know that was like overly simplistic, but like when you get narration from Constantine, like you're getting the inner monologue from an extremely flawed character who is an ass, but there is some empathy in there, right? At times, and there is the like I feel like the ability to like want to do the right thing, but also the selfishness, like the way they come together, but also like repel each other is fascinating. And that's what makes the narration for this character and the way Cy writes it like fascinating to read. And that's why like it doesn't feel like, it's dragging, right? Because you're just like, what the fuck is this asshole going to say or do next, right?
Yes.
And it's not just like, Cy's not writing just to hear his own voice on the page, right? Which is what we can get a lot of times when there's a lot of narration, in a panel, on a page. And so the character is great. And, trying to hearing his reasoning or his justification for doing something shitty, I think is wildly fascinating. And that's what makes this character in this book so great. And especially this, Dead in America. I don't know about you, but I got Ghost Rider vibes from this particular issue.
Oh, I can kind of see that. Yeah, like Percy's run specifically. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I can see that. And also important too, I think that we should call this out for anybody who is a Constantine fan but didn't read Spurrier's run. If you want to get in on this, you don't have to go back and check his stuff out. Although I think if you like the first issue, you'll want to go back and check his stuff out.
But I think too, like what he does is he gives a great recap.
Yes, it's great for people like us who have read it, where it's like, okay, do I want to go back and read it? And I mean, sure, some point, but I don't need to do that for this situation.
Right. And if you're new and this is your first time reading it, like I think it's a good little like, oh, okay, here's some things that have happened. Right. And it's, obviously you get more and it's way more enjoyable. I shouldn't say it's way more enjoyable, but like if you're Constantine, if you've read the first 2 volumes, like that synopsis, you get more out of it. Whereas if you're new, like, okay, boom, you filled in, the blanks for me. I can pick it up from here and be okay.
I would say my recommendation is if you're new to this, pick this and you want to check it out, pick it up. And then if you like it, go check out the first volume. And because I'm willing to bet that you will end up liking that very much if you like this first issue. And we get some, like, we know we're getting Sandman in the mix. We know we're getting Swamp Thing in the mix. So very exciting to see, especially Swamp Thing, because him and Constantine are a great pairing from a reader standpoint, but from like a like getting shit done standpoint, like they don't get along all that well. But so I'm very excited to see that to see Cy handle that relationship because we have not seen him do that yet. So yeah, awesome stuff from DC. What do you got next for me, Joe?
I'm going to take us through these next two publishers
Cool.
real quick. So from IDW, we have Star Trek 16. We have Sonic the Hedgehog, Fang the Hunter, issue 1. And My Little Pony, Kentucky Roller Derby, issue 1. And then from Dark Horse, we have Black Hammer, The End, issue 5. Operation Sunshine, issue 4. Stranger Things, The Voyage, issue 3. Borealis, issue 2. Killer Queens, 2, issue 4 from Skybound. We have The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 81. And real quick from Dark Horse, also, we have Space Usagi Death and Honor, issue 2. This looks like it's only going to be about 3 issues long because I think
Okay.
it's to be concluded.
Okay.
But I don't know. Maybe there's just a script. Like it says 2 of 3 on the cover, but I don't know how they're going to wrap this up in the next issue. Like I remember they did that with the last Usagi Yojimbo book where it said like to be, I don't know. There's been some weird numbering things going on there. And so maybe it's just the review copies that we get are not right, or maybe I'm just a fucking idiot. But I love this the Space Usagi little mini series that's going on. It was a great second issue and absolutely loved it. So I can't wait to see either how it wraps up or how it will continue with the next issue. But what do we have next there, Nicholas?
So I'll take us through these next couple. We got Ablaze, the Prism issue 4, Dynamite. We got Army of Darkness Forever issue 4, Siren's Gate issue 5, Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt issue 3, and then James Bond 007 issue 1. This is by Garth Ennis. I know you're very excited to check this out.
Yeah, I hope Newbury Comics has this. If not, I'm gonna buy it digitally because I need to know how the hell Garth Ennis is going to tackle James of all fucking characters, James Bond. Like, I'm so intrigued by that.
I'm gonna pick this up. But I want to present you with the opportunity to call dibs on this. Like you check it out first, and if you feel it's dibs worthy, great. If not, let me know. I'll read it myself, and we'll go.
I mean, this is what I'll say. It sounds like it has the potential to be an excellent book. I don't know if James Bond is okay, I'll take that because here I am saying I don't think James Bond is like a book I would talk about on TLDR, but that's the whole point of the fucking show, right?
Exactly.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now time for you to talk about the one issue from Vault that's coming out this week, The Nasty, issue 6 by friend of the show, John Lees.
Have you not read this yet?
I did not.
We've had it for a while, Nicholas. What the fuck are you waiting for?
I know. I don't know what I'm waiting
for. Excellent. Like we've talked about this, and we talked about this with John when we had him on to promote the initial release of the book, right? John is phenomenal at horror stories, and with The Nasty, because it's typically he's his artists have been Alex Cormack or Delabar Talic, which is just it has a very specific aesthetic with it, and I believe the artist on The Nasty is Adam Cahoon. And so it's a different visual for a John Lees horror book. And it's a slightly different feel. It's not that horrific, vicious type horror story. This has been more of a suspenseful, horror type story. But this issue, like, there was some real shit that happened in this issue. Like, this was the first issue in the series where I'm like, oh shit! It's been kicked up a few notches, right? There's real stakes. There's John pulls out some great emotion, adds some great layers to a couple of these characters. I don't know why I said layers to these characters. So like each issue has just been building and building and building, and what we get with this issue, this is like some real shit happens in this issue. That's all I want to say. I don't want to spoil it if you've been reading it. I don't want to spoil it for you in particular, but this has been a great series. It's Sync is its own thing. right? The Crimson Cage was its own thing. Hotel, right? John is just able to really write these very different types of horror stories,
Yeah.
and they all evoke, they all bring something different, out of you, which is great. So, The Nasty, go fucking read it, people.
Speaking of sync, by the way, we I saw that John had put out that we're going to be getting. I think it's sync 12 and 13.
These 100% Kickstarters. I
Yes.
fucking back, by the way.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. Well, first of all, they do a great job. They do an
They do.
outstanding job, and but also, yeah, not fucking around with this. Like, I
Yeah.
can't wait to like that's how you get sync. I
Yeah.
don't even
It's
like it
been
used.
announced, but it hasn't gone live yet, correct?
Right,
Yeah.
right. That sounds about right. And that thing got funded so fast last time. Like we had John on
4
last time.
minutes.
Yeah, there you go. 4 minutes. It was insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome stuff. All right, we got that leaves us just with Image. Because a few other publishers don't have stuff coming out this week. But what do you got for me from Image, Joe?
So we have the Scorched issue 25.
Mm,
We have What's the Furthest Place from Here issue 17. We have G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero issue 303. Creepso issue 5. Hack Slash Back to School issue 3. Savage Dragon issue 267. Now, this is intriguing because of what we've seen from the latest issue of Philadelphia.
true.
Our Bones Dust. This was the fucking book, Nicholas.
Yep.
That we were through. We have the final issue of Capterra Universal Truce issue 6. We have Cobra Commander issue 1,
Mm,
which we didn't get a review copy of because I believe this might be a Skybound book.
yeah.
I'm a little bummed about that. The Weatherman issue 1. This is the start of volume 3.
Yep.
We have the Colonized Zombies versus Aliens issue 1, and then there's 2 books we want to talk about. Before we talk about those, I want to say something real quick because there's 2 other books that dropped this week from Image, and it's Phantom Road issue 8 and the Enfield Gang issue 6. I love both of these books, and we talk about on the show pacing, right? We talked about it earlier, right? Like with Constantine, like
Yeah.
right, how like narration can sometimes slow the pacing down, can bring the story to a halt sometimes, right? So pacing is just as important as every other aspect of a comic book that you can think of. And sometimes what pacing does is you've got 2 brilliant books here in Phantom Road and Enfield Gang. But the pacing of these books is slower,
Mm,
right? And so reading these books month to month, I think a little something is lost. Whereas when it's all said and done, like the Enfield Gang, this was the end, issue 6. When this comes out into trade, like this book gets elevated being able to read it all at once, right? And the
yep.
same, I think, can be said for Phantom Road issue 8. Now, the first volume already is out, but these are 2 series where they're slower paced, right? There's fantastic storytelling, there's fantastic art, but just the way they move, the way that Lemire is writing Phantom Road and the way that Condon is writing, Enfield Gang, like it just reads better, I think, as a complete story,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when books I think are paced a little bit slower and having that month wait in between, you gotta go back and kind of refresh yourself a little bit. We kind of ran
Mm,
into this with Saga, right? Where I think Saga also loses a little bit of something month to month versus just reading the full volume, all at once.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not typically someone who will sit here and tell you to trade weight because we want to support the writers, the artists, the creators in general. The success of these books um, oftentimes, most times, hinges on the monthly sales,
Yep.
right? The rare case where you have with Constantine, it's done better in trade form. And maybe that's a tribute like to what we're talking about. Like it's a slower pace month to month. Maybe it loses a little something with the reader.
Mm,
But I love both these books, and I'm not saying this. There's nothing negative to say about either one of these books, but I wanted to make that point because they sort of struck me today because I read these both sort of back to back. And they're, like I said, they're both great books, but like I think these are ones that in a collected edition, reading them as a graphic novel trade, however you want to phrase it, they gain something in being able to read it all at once because I think it just flows. The pacing is better when you can read it all at once versus that sort of month to month, because that slows the pacing down even more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I understand it totally, but also there are times where we might get an issue of something that's like it's too light, it's too fast. Like
Yeah.
it was just it moved at a breakneck pace, but it's like did a lot necessarily happen?
Hmm.
And like that's like and
And
those
then,
are the
yeah,
ones too that benefit big time from trade paperback edition as well.
100%, right? So like pacing is critical,
Huge.
because I think this, I can't remember what the book it was. And I was like, I have to wait until this is collected.
Yeah, I
There's
can't.
too
Oh,
much.
it was something epic.
Yes, exactly. So much is happening, and then you have that month in between. It's like shit, right? So just the opposite can happen. And so what made me think about this was I want to talk about Phantom Road on the show,
Mm,
but like where Volume One ends, it's like okay, yeah, it was like a great, a great like first arc, but not enough meat on the bones for me to dedicate an entire show. Like I
hmm,
want to be able to talk about it, sort of like have it out in its entirety, so when someone goes to read it, they could read it all versus like, okay, here's the first arc, but it's really only just the first. It's like just giving someone two chapters of a book,
mm,
right? And
mm.
saying, here you go. Right. In a lot of cases, we get like the first arc, or like, what we get from AWA. It's the full story is only told 4, 5, 6 issues, right?
Yeah, and you
This
bring in
is
all. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say this is like Phantom Road and Enfield Gang are both examples of even though Enfield Gang's just the one arc, but like with Phantom Road, like that's a story you really just you need to have it in its entirety to
Mm.
really fully like get everything out of it.
This whole conversation too makes me think about TKO, who we haven't talked about as much on here in a while. I did actually order some stuff from them a little while back that I got to read still, but it's like their business idea of like put like only doing OGNs and like having it be like one-offs and everything. And I know AWA is going to be it has mixed in some OGNs, and like Dark Horse still has them, and obviously Image does some in some capacity because obviously Brubaker and Phillips do stuff like that's all they do now. It's just like I'm obviously we both love floppies, and as you said, it's important to support the creators there. And I know it's important for like marketing for the collected edition, but it's so odd to me that we don't see more OGNs and see more of those kind of get I guess marketed and everything, because that's like where we're now in like this. I don't want I hate calling it binge culture, but like that's what like Netflix kind of did to a lot of us. And I mean, look, we both like floppies, but at the same time, you put a good trade in front of us and it's a whole collected thing, and you and I didn't read it. We're gonna scarf that thing down. I'm not done with Moon Knight yet, but for McKay's run, but I'm like blown away, absolutely
Yeah.
fucking blown away by how good it is and how wrong I was in my stance about it originally. Like, again, thought it was good, and I'm almost done and caught up so I can read was it the Revenge of the Moon Knight, which I'm very excited about because he killed it with this character. So yeah, I agree with you. Like there are times where it's unfortunately a better fit, but that's where we run into issues too because
Yeah.
like can they get continued or not?
Right. So, anyways, and AWA 100% made the right choice moving Gatsby to an OGN versus because
Mm,
again, it would have had that sort of that pacing
hmm.
month to month. It show. So yeah. Anyways, that's my thoughts on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well said, sir. So we had two things we want to talk about. We're going to talk about the
Start with your book first. We'll end with a
yeah.
bang.
Yeah. Well, this is, I'll tell you what, you want to talk about ending with a bang. The Deviant issue 3 by James Tynan IV, Joshua Hickson, and Hassan Otsman Allow. Wow, dude, this has been such a good story. It has felt very personal, which Tynan, tends to do that. And it does an outstanding job getting so personal. And it's, there's always like, I think about, what was the Black Label series that he did, like the cabin, the cabin on the lake story.
Nice house on the lake.
Nice House on the Lake. Thank you very much. Obviously, like there was a character there who I would have picked out as like being more so a reflection of him. In this case, like he has one character who is a comic book writer, and we learn a little bit more about that character in this issue. And we already knew quite a bit, but it's like interesting. And it felt very much like James was talking about himself. And then on top of all that, by the end of this issue, we get like this has been moving. This has been I don't know why you're so fuzzy right now, Joe.
That's driving me bananas.
But it was like this whole story has been very interesting. I'm very invested. It's moving at a very like controlled pace, and it's leaving like a lot of room. Like as much as we're getting quite a bit of info, it's leaving a lot of room to speculate, and it's like has a very true crime feel and everything. But what's blew me away at the end of this issue is like, okay, I'm invested in this true crime thing, and now we know something's happened previously, but then you get this like surprise at the end. It's like you're left in this spot to like you have to suspect that something absolutely insane for this story has happened. That you are led to believe that. And I don't know, like, do I trust Tynan that like that this is the crazy shit that's happened, or is it like a total misdirection? So I don't know. It's like the whole. It's been very well done, like from start to finish. I didn't talk about issue 2 on the show because I'm going to talk about this at length on the show. But man, this issue was what like it was great, and then you just get like smacked over the face with this ending, and it's just like what the fuck, really?
Dude, you trust
that's what
Tynan.
happened? Yeah.
We trust Tynan.
No,
on the show.
not like that. I mean like when I say you can't trust Ryan Parrott, I mean like that. Like I mean you can trust him, but don't trust him to like he's gonna keep you fucking on your toes the whole time. And Tynan, man, he does that too, and he's really like right now. I'm just like I don't know what to think. Like I know what I'm thinking, but I don't know if I should trust. Maybe it's my own thoughts I shouldn't trust. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you think, he's gonna do the opposite.
I don't know this time though. We'll find out. All right. But yes, we do have one more book that we wanted to dig into. No surprise here. Kill Your Darlings, issue 5 by Griffin Sheridan, Ethan S. Parker, and Robert Quinn. And we had a fun time with them. I know we've talked about it, but we did have a good time chatting with them about this.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And like this was a heavy issue, right? And
my God.
And so like the chat got a little deep, got a little personal, at a certain point. But I think that's the brilliance, of this book. Is one of the things I said is like, this is a horror book and it's a fantasy book, and it's a beautiful combination of the two, and with Bob Q's art just sort of, I don't know, like up until this issue, there was a lot of vibrancy to it.
Mm-hmm.
And not in this issue whatsoever. And it's not like this was a vicious, like it wasn't like dark in that it was, wildly violent or just vicious. It was just, you can tell that this story came from very personal places. And like this was an issue that I think people can relate to. And what it does for the story and sort of the background that it gives us, like this issue just elevates the entire series. Like we don't know what's fucking coming next. I tried like hell to get that information out of them, but my fishing expedition was fruitless. But I just can't wait to see where it goes from here, because the background information that we got in this issue was so valuable and just sort of reaffirmed some things that we thought going into it from from a certain character, like who they might be, and so now we sort of have an idea of where they're coming from. Just I can't say enough good things about this series, and and I told them I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up anyone's ass. It's just when you read a book that's that good, you wanna yell, I love it from the top of a mountain. I'm gonna shout it from the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And that's Kill Your Darlings.
Yeah, 100%. So for those who don't know too, this is the start of the second part of the story. I don't know if you mentioned that, Joe. I might have got lost in there. It did. Okay, my apologies. But
no, it didn't. It didn't get lost. I didn't say it.
Oh, okay. Anyways, but you did we talked before. When we had him on before, again, I know that you weren't there, but like when we had him on previously, it was right ahead of issue 2, and that shit was crazy heavy. Like it's nothing compared to what we get in issue 5. Like you've laid it out very well. The only thing that I want to add is like yes, it adds, like, we get to, like, there's a new character who got added to the mix in issue 4, and this provides background on that character. But I wouldn't even just say it's background. Like, this is like
I didn't want to
this.
spoil anything, Nicholas.
No, 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 no. But I'm like, this adds like a layer to the story that you never saw coming. That's what's so mind
Yeah.
blowing about this. And again, like where I was talking about the deviant, and I'm like, I don't know what to think about like what just happened at the end of that issue. With this, it's like, what, I don't know what I'm gonna feel like going forward. Like who, like where, like what, I don't know what the guys are gonna do with this story. It's outstanding. Like it was such a surprising issue because again, like you said, it's a shift in like the story, and it's like, and it's explaining kind of like, again, adding that layer. But now I'm just like, you have some, there's a lot of ways they can go here, and I have no, I don't know what the next step is, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, excellent, excellent. Go pick up. Just read this fucking series.
Yeah, if you're not reading Kill Your Darlings right now, I don't, I'd love to know why. But we are, so we're happy, and you'll also be happy too if you check out those Friar side chats. Go make sure you subscribe to one of the audio channels if you have not already. Please leave a 5-star rating and review if you have a moment. It helps the show out a ton. It's going to make Joe feel really nice going into the weekend. But yeah, until and also, yeah, subscribe to, because you never know what's going to be dropping on there. Something could happen any moment, any day. But yeah, until next week, Joe, stay sexy.
Will do, baby. You know it. So funny thing